good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm here with my guest Daniel Culver, Killenberg. We're here to do the review of the movie Spiral from the book of Saw. So, what did you think of the start of this, man?
I thought it was actually, pretty good.
We actually meet. We don't know who we're really meeting at first. We meet this guy who seems to be a cop, and he's going through this crowd, and then boom, this guy bumps into steals something, and the cop chases him. And I found this interesting. Did you think that the guy who bumped into the cop, did you think he worked with the we'll say copycat jigsaw killer?
Yeah, I think that's, possible.
Yeah, it's really strange because at first I'm thinking, wait a second, why, and then when they go down into the sewer, and he's walking and he sees this guy. Really, the guy the what's sitting there is sort of dressed up like him. Before we see somebody with the pig mask,
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point.
which I found creepy and eerie. What did you think of that? Did they? Or sorry, what did you think of the how the sort of the mannequin looked? Did you think that looked creepy or?
Oh, I wouldn't say creepy, but I did like how it looked like, the pig mask. Well, what's kind of reference to the pig. It doesn't really look like it per se, but it's, clearly a reference to it.
Yeah, I think they did a real good job with the pig mask. It was really, I like that they kept this. You know what I mean? Spiral, it doesn't just, it's not just a sequel, it feels like it. It gives all the vibes of what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
What were your thoughts of the main character, Zeke?
I know it sounds weird, but I thought he was kind of an asshole at first, but, I kind of started to like him at the end.
I like how they're trying to, because this movie isn't long. I like how they present him. He's very he's very arrogant of himself. He's very confident in his abilities.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah. They have him, he's in a room with these guys and he's talking about Forrest Gump and how Jenny gave Forrest Gump AIDS. That's why there's no Gump 2. I thought Chris Rock just. It's weird how a star can really. I felt he captured the whole movie, really, the essence of it. Like his character's very upfront and very. He's laid back, but he knows when to raise his voice.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Did you, when the other cops came to sort of arrest the criminals, and they sort of look at him and say, one look goes, Zeke? What did you think of that?
That's actually a good question. I thought, it was kind of interesting, that they responded that way.
Yeah. Now here's where the movie gets real interesting. When they bring him in, and you find out he's an undercover cop, right then and there, okay, this dude's a cop, but he's also an undercover cop, and he works alone. And right away, he's pointing out the fact that, well, the reason I can't work alone, the reason I work alone is because I can't trust anybody in this whole department. I thought that was a really interesting sort of setup because for me, when he said those words, I believed him right away. Even though I felt he was arrogant, did you believe him when he said that?
Oh yeah, I thought he did, but you know what's weird is I kind of misunderstood something in that movie. I hate to admit this, but yeah, for some reason I had the impression that he was shot like that Chris Rock's. Well, I mean Zeke was shot, but it turns out I know we're kind of getting ahead a little bit, but it turns out the cop actually shot an innocent man. You know.
Yeah, it's weird because you're right. And I think it's a bit important to jump a bit with this movie because there's a lot here. The one cop that Zeke partnered with had shot an innocent man. He had shot somebody who was, wanting to testify against the police corruption that was going on. And so it lays Saw Spiral lays out this interesting narrative that not just a narrative, its story is corrupt police corruption, and not just one specific cop. Like a bunch of cops are in on this, and that's what I found most interesting. What were your thoughts on how many cops were actually in on this order that actually Zeke's dad gave?
Yeah, to be honest, I was actually pretty surprised. Like, I thought like it may have been like like one or maybe two cops, but yeah, this whole plot was basically centered around corrupt cops.
Yeah, before with the Saw sequels, we saw only really a couple cops really, like it was an individual set of cops that weren't necessarily just that weren't corrupt, but they were living lives that were focused too much on their job. And this actually takes a whole precinct and is trying to expose not just the corruption but punish the corrupt.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and actually, me and you talked about this a little before. Like, we talked about Eric Matthews being a corrupt cop. Like, do you do you possibly? I know I've actually asked you this before, but I don't know if your mind changed or anything. But do you possibly think that Eric Matthews could actually be connected to any of this?
I think somewhat he is because you're right. Eric Matthews was a corrupt cop. So I'm wondering what, because again we don't know these cops. I don't think this would. Well, let me ask someone. Do you think it would be fair to say that we're not getting the full story of each cop that was punished?
Yeah, I could see that. Like maybe we don't know. Like you said, maybe we don't know the full story. I do. I don't know if this is correct. Well, because it's from Wikipedia, but according to Wikipedia, there's talks about possibly making a TV series of this movie.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, Saw has become this great franchise that is very story driven. It's not just a gore fest. It has a story behind the torture and behind behind the traps really. So, and I love it for it, and I know you do too. So, I would be very, very interested in a Saw TV series going off this movie because it's very. And to answer sort of your question back, because I know I didn't answer it, and I'm sorry, but I think Eric Matthews is somehow connected to each of these cops, if not all of them. Because
That's true.
Eric Matthews, when we meet him, and I know we're going back, like way back to like Saw 2, but he's not no young guy. He's a very veteran cop.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that, but for those that don't know, like, it is possible that they couldn't actually get. For those that don't know, in real life, Eric Matthews is played by Donnie Wahlberg, which is Mark Wahlberg's brother, but it is possible they couldn't get him for this movie if they wanted him because because he actually owns like a restaurant chain, and I don't know what else he does, but I know he was in New Kids on the Block, but honestly, I don't really follow the Wahlbergs, so I can't really confirm any of that.
Yeah, he is the owner of a restaurant, and he's also, well, I don't know if he still is, but he was in the television series Blue Bloods. He was one of the main characters. So he might have just been busy, too busy, and with really not just too busy, but with the way COVID sort of affected this movie's release too, kept pushing it back and stuff. I think COVID affected not just one franchise; it affected a lot of the franchises. But so far, I don't feel COVID affected Saw in a negative way.
Oh yeah, it maybe not, but yeah, for those that don't know, this was a movie that was delayed. It was supposed to come out on May 2020, but it was delayed because of the pandemic.
Yep. What were your? Do you think? Because you asked me this, and I want to ask you this in return. Do you think we'll see the return of Eric Matthews' son?
I actually think it's possible, but I'm not sure. We haven't seen many of the sequels so far, but that doesn't mean anything. Maybe that's actually one of the reasons they will, because it kind of seems like they might be kind of going into a new direction, which is not always a bad thing.
Right. I think Saw is the one thing I like about it. Its direction. It's very constant. So one movie from the Saw, franchise seems to set up the other. Now, some people might take exception to that because it doesn't feel like Spiral is going off of Jigsaw. But in every way it is. I mean, they mentioned John Kramer. They mentioned the copycats. No one knows about Logan. Logan being, the trap maker for the Saw franchise, because he wasn't revealed until way later. And it's still a secret that he is. So no one's gonna know about Logan. Do you think he was involved in this at all?
That's actually a question. I actually don't feel like he was. I know it's kind of weird, but I don't feel like he was. But I think he will possibly eventually get involved. Like maybe he'll actually track down the new guy.
That's a great point. You're right. He could track him down and sort of confront him.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention this. Like how I said, like I had this. I for some reason I had the impression that well, you know what I meant. Like the thing about like Chris means Zeke getting shot. Yeah, what I thought happened, like when he said he couldn't trust the police department. One thing I thought possibly happened was that he was undercover and one of the cops shot him, and that's why he didn't trust him. And I don't know why I thought that, to be honest. I even thought of that.
Actually, when I first watched it, because when I bought the Blu-ray, that's when I watched it back the most, because I originally rented this on VOD. I thought that same thing. I thought, well, maybe his own partner shot him. That was my interpretation at first too. So you're not alone in this.
Okay, I'm kind of glad because I kind of feel like an idiot. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking I might be an idiot. I might look like an idiot saying that. For some reason I don't know. I thought of that.
No, no, not at all. I think all Saw movies lay a confusing trap with their storytelling. They leave everything. What I love about Saw the most is everything is interpretation. So they let you interpret your own thing until they reveal their truth, which is really unique because, like you said, and I agree with you, I thought at first as well that, well, he must have been shot by his partner. That's why he's saying this. But lo and behold, no, it's because he turned his partner in and he was, arresting a suspect he was getting shot at, and he was calling for backup, and no one came until after he was shot. So that's why he's saying, I can't trust anybody. Saw is one of the best misleading franchises ever.
That's very true. I wonder how many other people thought that too. To be honest, now I think about because it did kind of seem like like you said, they kind of did kind of make it seem like that.
They really do. again, when you meet Zeke, you don't know much about him. You think, oh, is he a criminal? What is he? And because I only watched the trailer once, I'm thinking, wait, is this guy at first? Because here's where trailers can be misleading too. I thought Zeke would be the corrupt cop, but no. And I was pleasantly surprised by this. And again, Saw is great at misdirection. They're like the Harry Houdini of horror. They misdirect beautifully with you, and I don't get annoyed with it. I love misdirection, because if you're going to misdirect me and then tell me a story in the process of that misdirection, bravo, you know.
Oh yeah, and actually, my personal favorite twist in Saw was in Saw 6, where like there was those, the mom and the son, and then there was this, lady, well, younger lady, and it turned out like the family was actually the guy's I mean, yeah, they were saying his family, but it turns out the young lady was actually his family. That was his sister. Like, I thought that was the best twist in the franchise.
Yeah, I think that's one of them. I'm glad you have your own twist. I have mine too. Now, many people would say I'm going to pick the doctor who became the predecessor, but no. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go Jigsaw, because Logan being the trap maker was shocking to me. I really thought, because Logan was helping the police, that Jigsaw had captured him, and I was really shocked that he was in on this the whole time. I know it's recent, but that's one where I go, holy shit, how many people were actually involved in this?
Oh yeah, that's actually a good point too. Yeah, that twist I was talking about though, like, that is a pretty good one too. But yeah, the thing is, yeah, it turns out, like the mom and the son. It turns out that was actually a family they screwed. He screwed over.
Yeah, I think one of the your twist I love, the family he screwed over. I think this twist, the spiral twist, is interesting because you're wondering, like, well, let me ask you something. Do you think, because they have sort of portrayed this in the sequel, do you think we're going to see, and you and I sort of predicted this, we asked this question before, do you think we're going to continue to see more and more copycats now?
Actually, that's actually a good question. I think we actually will. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I think we'll see at least one more. Or we'll see more apprentices, or maybe the copycat killer will have his own apprentices or something like that.
Do you think that the guy who was portraying himself off as Jigsaw in this movie, or the new Jigsaw, do you think he personally learned from John Kramer?
Yeah, I think he did, to be honest, because like he's using like the spiral. I was called it a swirl, but I guess it's, well, I guess you can use either one, but yeah, I guess we should call it a spiral since that's the name of the movie.
No, either name's good. Spiral, swirl. It both fits, but spiral. I think that you're right. I do think there's going to be more and more copycats. Zeke says something to him interesting. He goes, "You're no Jigsaw, you're no John Kramer," and I think that's so. He's telling him, you're not Jigsaw. Here's the thing: none really. The apprentices, when someone tells them they're not Jigsaw, or that line's used, I'm thinking they may not be John Kramer, but each apprentice or each copycat believes, whether you tell them they are or aren't, believes they're doing the work of John Kramer.
Well, that's true, and actually, that's another thing. Eric Matthews says that to Amanda.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point, that Amanda gets told that too, and Amanda herself even sort of strays.
How would you like to come in?
But anyway, I agree that Eric Matthews Or sorry, go ahead. Where were you? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I was just saying, like, you know, Eric Matthews told Amanda that she's not Jigsaw too.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that's something that's really well, with done with Amanda. That when Matthews tells her that, now Matthews isn't half wrong. He's not fully wrong. He's half right. Though Amanda is trying to follow in John Kramer's footsteps, Jigsaw, she strays because I think the guy's name is, I could be wrong. I think it's Mark something, is blackmailing her.
Oh yeah, you're actually right. His name is Mark. His name's Mark Hoffman.
Yep. So Hoffman is blackmailing her, and then so she's sort of not listening to. She's not listening really to John Kramer. She's listening to Mark Hoffman, who's also sort of straying from John Kramer in his own right.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, that's the interesting part. Is I kind of, when I first saw 3, I thought it was weird that she didn't obey, John Kramer. But turns out, like you said, he was blackmailing her because for those that haven't seen all of them, it's sort of revealed that she's actually the one that drove the guy who caused Jill to have a miscarriage. Like she drove him there that night.
Yeah, the whole Saw series is full of twists and turns, and that's a real good twist too. That she's the one that drove the drug addict back to the clinic where John Kramer's wife worked, and she was pregnant, and he sort of runs through the door, bumps her, causes her own with the door, causes her to have a miscarriage, and that's where John Kramer sort of really begins to be Jigsaw.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, I could be wrong, but I think that drug dealer's name is Cecil. It's like a weird name like that.
You're probably right. I'm not sure right now. What were your thoughts on? You had the one detective. You had the new chief of police. The captain, the female captain. They were dirty in this. What were your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I agree. They were dirty, and yeah, they were. It's kind of shocking that they were all involved with this. It's you wouldn't think they would be, but like you said, the Saw is full of twists and stuff.
Yeah, it was shocking that. I think my most shocking one was the female captain, like her being involved in the program that Zeke's dad had planned, and I thought that was really. I'm thinking, wow. So when she died, at first I felt sorry for her. I'm thinking, but wait a second. I know how this works. Usually, every person in a trap, there's a reason they're there. Usually, like pretty much everyone.
That's true, but she could have I know that's not what happened, but if you think about it, it could have been possible she just covered up some of the corruption. I know she did that, but I mean, maybe she didn't want to turn them in for some reason because I don't know, she did. There's some reason she didn't turn them in, but unfortunately, that's not how it went turned out.
Yeah, I do agree with you that I do think she covered some of it up because here's what's weird. The 2 cops who didn't respond to Zeke being shot, the 2 closest, they're still on the force.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't really think about that. I know it's weird that I think about it, but yeah, that is true. In real life, they'd probably get deep shit,
Yeah, so when Zeke's pointing out at the room, I can't trust anybody. And then here comes this rookie. Thinking, oh God. At first, I'm thinking this guy's either going to be the comedy relief or he's going to be dead. And I gotta admit, I've never learned to stop misleading myself with these movies until the reveal. And I misled myself here too because I'm thinking, oh, this guy's either the comedy relief or he's going to be dead.
Yeah. actually, with the female cop, I actually forgot her name, to be honest. But do you think maybe she is the least corrupt of them, or do you think she's as corrupt as the other ones?
I think this is going to be a weird comparison, but for those who have played it, in Final Fantasy VII, the remake, you learn that Reeve, who builds Kate Sif, the toy cat, you learned that he truly believed in what Shinra stood for. I truly believe the female captain, the woman who becomes the female captain and gets killed, I think she believed in Zeke's dad's cause. Now, whether she's right or wrong for believing that, that's a whole nother matter, but she believed in it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which, I mean, do I think she's corrupt? Here's where I think she's corrupt. She's corrupt for not making sure that people who she knew as much as Zeke's dad, who conspired, not just who shot Zeke, but the plan that Zeke's dad organized, where it was innocent people be shot to lower crime, to crime against cops not be reported. So I think that's where the root of her corruption really lies. She was, I hate to use this term, but it's true. She was a loyal soldier to a fault.
Yeah, I could see your point on that,
What did you think of? There was this one cop. He was real tall. I think somehow, well, I think in some way he's involved with helping the cop who turns out to be Jigsaw in this movie. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, sorry, what was that again?
There's this one detective, this one cop who is in the precinct. He's like really tall. He sort of stands out amongst the rest. And they always show him, and there's times they show him and he's not always saying something. I think that in some way, shape, or form, he helped out with these recent string of Jigsaw killings. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I could see that. You know how that goes. Like, I think this is, as I know, sound very other thing. I mean,
Sorry, go ahead. You cut out. Can you repeat yourself? I'm sorry.
oh, it's fine.
Poor connection. Poor connection.
Might be the weather.
Yeah, might be.
It's whatever. The weather's crappy outside, babe.
I mean.